Okay. Out of the divisions, since stood up to the rank. But so yeah. So now BCT has a tablet. Where does it go? Where does the party go? Because the party gets a tablet. If the party's going to be here, then we'll add one rather than losing the man. We'll lose the flag. History.
Hashtag. What happened? You bought it right away? Put a donut in his coffee.
After a little while, the art sport did break down. Comfortable, but
So I got to sit away.
No, that's not your tonight.
Did you see that one post? Yeah. Love is in the air. Oh, wait, that's my tonight.
Very good. That's why you're mad at me. You need to look at yourself in the mirror and not mess up the costume. You take a drink and you come over.
I took a drink. Oh, that tastes like donuts.
Castle. Fucking donut.
There wasn't a used shoe.
Or an apple. Or an apple. Like coffee. And when nothing came on, all of a sudden it was whoosh. Because the apple was
Just bought the fucker to the gas station. Oh, that's the guy.
it was a metal. Yeah. He put the apple in order to get it in. On the damn page.
Put the lid up. Get that out.
oh, yeah. Too old to like spin your head around.
I'm waiting for the stop sign.
No. Not in here. I'll get it.
Is it really? You know you.
I'm offended. Why? Because it wasn't my ear. Well, he was. He has.
Former life.
Whatever.
You guys are gonna be here for the mentorship. I never heard officially.
Well,
We don't have
yes.
open bar here.
The answer is yes. I know. That's why I wish it was at the hangar. Because what it's here. No, but
I don't even drink.
that's what we did to get through it. Can we bring it at the hangar? Go get a couple first.
We'll bring it.
It's better to ask for forgiveness or permission. We found an old half bottle of Jack Daniels. A little false park. We were eating yesterday. A lot of bottles, but there was one half full.
Or was it half empty? It was too big.
Pessimist.
My problem's always got to be built.
Basically asking how we
Bob is very active in veteran legislation, benefits for us and veterans. He's done a lot of great things for us, and he can tell more about himself. And he's also a former MI warrant, so if you know warrants, the MI warrant background, reserve. So anyway, without further ado, Mr. Bob.
Thank you, Chief. Well, welcome, and it's an honor to be here. Yesterday, I was down in Rosemont speaking at the Military Retirement Association, and they really wanted to know what was going on in the legislature in terms of those that are getting ready to retire. In fact, how many here are getting ready to retire? Okay, so I'll say I've been asked to talk on 3 areas, and that's there in this order. The legislative efforts around veterans and Minnesota National Guard. I'll save that part towards the end, so that that's probably what a lot of you are really interested in. And also my story, my military coaching career. I was a head wrestling coach and a teacher at Forest Lake High School for 34 years. And in fact, there's an ex-student of mine here, Chief Husnick. Where's Chief Husnick?
Right here, sir.
All right, there. Okay.
Glad to see you.
Thank you. I tried to get you out for wrestling, but
I was a faster skier.
He's a better wrestler now, though.
thank you for your service. But in fact, we were in Ward Officer Candidate School together. You were in the class ahead of me.
Yes, sir.
And 93.
Yes, sir.
93. How many went through Fort Rucker, Alabama? How many would like to go back there? Okay.
What was amazing about that story, sir, if I will,
Go ahead. Go ahead.
No one could believe how many push-ups Coach Detmer did. In fact, they had to redo them, and that attack officer had to count them. There was nobody that did more, I don't think, at that time.
Well, I suppose you want me to finish that story. Okay. Well, the TAC officer was our first PT test, and I felt sorry for the guy that was counting for me. I would say he counted 180.
What was your age, sir?
I was, well, I'm 65 right now, so that would be 1993, so, I was in my 50s. But,
108.
in fact, I went through basic training when I was 34. I'm one of those late bloomers. Okay? I'll get into that when I get into my military. But just to finish that story, I felt sorry for the candidate that was counting for me because he just got chewed out left and right by the TAC officer. And finally, after he got done chewing the candidate out, I said, Candidate Detmer would like to redo my test, sir, if you would count for me. So about 3 days later, we were in the gym going through our workout, and everybody knew what was coming down the pike. They saw me walking up to the TAC officer. Of course, everybody followed around, and said, Candidate Detmer would like to redo my push-up test. Would you count for me? And so I got down, started doing my push-ups. He counted 140 good ones. So, actually, he apologized to the rest of the class, and to the guy that candidate that was chewed out left and right. So, so the PT test is something I took serious, and I did the extended, what do you call it? The extended scale, and I think my highest was 500 some. When you count all the push-ups, and when you count all the sit-ups, and then my fastest, I also maxed the run too. There was one time I did max the run. That was at Fort Huachuca, Arizona. I just had my knee scoped 3 weeks prior, and the elevation at Fort Huachuca, I was like 2 seconds short of maxing that. So otherwise, I maxed it. I'll talk more about my military career. A little bit about background on me. I grew up in a dairy farm down in southern Minnesota, down in Faribault. And my first 6 years was a one-room schoolhouse, one teacher, 6 grades, outdoor bivvies. I wouldn't trade the first 6 years for anything. And then we got bussed into town, went through school, through high school and everything, and played different sports, wrestling, football, baseball, went to college, then Michigan State University. Now that was back, okay, that was back in 1969. Now what was going on in 69? Any Vietnam War vets here? Okay, you're all too young, is that it? Okay. But anyway, pardon?
Vietnam era vets, you have a question?
Yes. Okay. My dad's still alive. He's 93, World War II veteran. He still lives in his home. He gave up his, hung up his car keys, his van keys 4 years ago. And I said, Dad, you got a 1994 Plymouth Voyager van. Only 80,000 miles on it. Why don't you sell it? You don't need it anymore. You know? We're Germans. And my dad said, no, whenever I open up that garage door, I like to see it in there. So he still lives in his home. My wife's father was a World War II veteran, flew over Europe in bombers, and he passed away 4 years ago. That generation is quite a generation. In fact, I was speaking 3 years ago. I was speaking down at the Minneapolis Veterans Home, and right before I got up to speak, a Korean War veteran came up to me and he said, "Sir, this is the first year that there are no World War I veterans alive in America or Canada. They're all gone. That whole generation is gone." And the World War II veteran generation, I would say in the next 10 years, that generation will be gone. And so we, I chair the Veterans Committee in the House of Representatives, and there's some interesting things I'd like to share with you on that. But so I went off to college, and first thing I did, I went down. I was going to enlist right away, because I saw what was going on in Vietnam. My dad, on the dairy farm, he talked me out of it. He said, "No, you got a scholarship, go to school." I'm 17, 18 years old. I did what my dad told me to do, and I had a scholarship. I got through college, competed, won national tournaments and stuff like that, got hired at Forest Lake to teach. Now, I'm sitting there teaching and coaching. Who's coming into my offices to recruit my athletes? Recruiters. They come in all the time because they love wrestlers. Okay, for some reason, they love wrestlers. And so finally I said, well, I always had that back in my mind. I wanted to serve. So finally I asked all the recruiters that came in, Army, Navy, Air Force, what do you have for a person my age? They look at you, 34 years old, 33 years old. And the Army came out with the best thing for me. And so I joined them. I enlisted, went off the basic training. I was over my drill sergeants. And finally, one night, I'm in my bunk down at Fort Jackson. Anybody here went to Fort Jackson? Okay. And the drill sergeant shaking me. Private Detmer, get up. So I get up. I go into his office. I'm standing in front of his desk. He says, "Sit down." He says, "What are you doing here? What are you doing here?" And finally, we just had a good one-on-one talk that I wanted a second career. As an educator, as a teacher, you're always looking for second careers. And the military had a good opportunity for me for that. My wife and I, September 1st, we're going to be married 44 years. Okay? I better not forget that, right? And we have twin sons and a daughter. Our twin sons See, they're 38 now. They, after high school, I coached them in high school. After high school, they went off to West Point Military Academy. They got appointments. And that first year at West Point, I didn't think they were going to stay there. It's really tough. And but they went back, and now Rob just got promoted to lieutenant colonel. Travis, of course, they're twins. Rob is in the National Guard now down in Texas, at Fort Meade, Texas. Travis is teaching military courses at Fort Meade, Maryland. He's public affairs. Any public affairs? Okay. He's teaching public affairs courses at Fort Meade. They both have had 3 deployments: Iraq, Afghanistan. Rob just got word that his unit out of Texas is going to be, he's MI, is going to be called up probably this next year. I was called up for, after 9/11, when I saw that second jet go into the tower. Everybody here can remember where you were during that second, when that plane went into the towers in New York. I turned to my wife. I said, I think my unit's going to get called up this time. Military intelligence, ammunitions analysts, enlisted with the 98 Juliet, and now, then as a warrant, it was 352 Juliet, and they changed it, I think, to Romeo or something like that. But sure enough, that December I got orders. I had to report down in Fort Gordon, Georgia, and during freedom, I stayed right there in Gordon. We had connectivity where we needed to send intel to. And then for Iraqi freedom, the general felt that he wanted us all over at Camp Doha. Anybody here spent time at Camp Doha? Okay. I spent that December of 2002 is when I got into Camp Doha. And then, of course, in 2003, our troops went into Iraq. And spent, supposed to be 1 year, but it ended up being 20 months that we were deployed, mobilized and deployed. And then after that, here's a story for you. I'm sitting at my section there at Camp Doha, and a young soldier comes walking in. I could just tell he was kind of distraught. In fact, he just, his uniform just wasn't quite real white, right, you know, and of course it had to be a National Guard, right, you know. And, so I set him down. He was supposed to be assigned to my section. I sat him down and just started chatting with him, you know, and I said, how's your family, what's going on? He says, my wife and I, we don't know what we're going to do. Here, I own a construction company, and I'm making a, you know, 100 grand or more at a construction company. Now I'm an E4, Spec 4, making $37,000. We're trying to figure out what am I going to sell off our equipment and stuff to make the ends meet. And that's a real situation that us that are in the reserve component have when we get mobilized. Our family, the home front, and our businesses, our jobs, they're put on hold. And I know when we were set down there, the active component, they didn't really know how to, at that time, I think it's changed now, they didn't really know how to deal with us as reserve component and National Guard component. Family support, what did we have back then? My wife had to start a family support group right in Forest Lake at the American Legion. And that has changed now. You have to go yellow ribbon and all the different support things that we have now. Back in those days, we didn't have that. I also had a command for 2 years. What can a warrant officer be a commander of?
Military intelligence company.
Could be, yeah. What else? Band. I was the commander for 2 years of the 451st Army Reserve Band. You say, what happened? Well, during the Clinton years, he deactivated all the Army Reserve MI units in the Midwest. A lot of our guys in the Seaway unit, they jumped over into the Guard. I just decided to stay in in the reserve component. And at that time, General Steiner was the commander of the 88th RC, and also Colonel Knoll of Northern Command. They asked if I would take a command. And I'm sitting in his office, and I said, what am I going to command? He says, well, CW5 Headloom of the 451st Army Band has to retire. So I said, well, I'll check it out. I'll check into it. Okay? And so I went and visited the band, and they said, all you have to do is be our administrative commander. Wow. Okay, I think I could do that for a year, because my job was to find somebody in the band to go off to walk school, and then go to the music school. And so I found a E5, Buck Sergeant, Dan Eckhoff, to go off. He's a trumpet player. He's the commander of the band now. I sent him off to Warrant Officer School, and I remember my first concert that I attended as commander of the band. We were down in a little place in southern Minnesota, and my job was to introduce our first sergeant, introduce our music leaders, because three of our the first sergeant and the three other people were high school band directors. I didn't have to worry about the music at all. I was administrative commander. Well, after that concert, General Steiner's XO comes up to me and says, Chief, something's missing from today's performance. I said, what's that, sir? He says, the commander's got to get up and direct the band. I thought he was kidding, but he wasn't. I went and talked to our music leadership, and they said, you can do it. You can do it. Warrant officers, we're pretty flexible, right? So we find ourselves in situations that maybe it's not in your MOS. And so they taught me the hand signals and everything. And of course, in school, I also, in the physical education classes I taught, one course I taught was ballroom dancing. So could I keep time? I could keep time. Okay, so I remember my first rehearsal with the band. I get up from the band, I bring the instruments up, then I shut them off. They look at each other, what's he doing? So there's a big whiteboard in back of you. I write big letters, autopilot. On my downbeat, you start. When you stop, and I'll turn to the crowd and do everything that the band director was supposed to do. Now, that was supposed to be for 1 year. Well, Dan Eckhoff comes back. He says, Chief, I'm not ready to be a commander yet. I left as a E5. Now I got to be in charge of my first sergeant. Da, 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 da. So they asked me to stay on for another year. Well, okay, I guess I can do that. So I got in front of the band. I said, it looks like I'm going to be here. I'm an MI warrant undercover here. Okay, and I think I can do this. And I said, what? I'm going to be with you another year. What would you like me to do for you? We want to go to Europe, they said. Now, the 451st, they played in France on the 50th anniversary of D-Day. I mean, these are all professional musicians. And they spend their whole career with this band. Okay? We want to go to Europe. Okay? How do I do that? So I get meet with my unit administrator. I said, well, let's look through the directory. So we went through the directory. This band looks great. It's in Germany, and they got a chorus with them. Let's give them a call. Sure enough, who do I get on the phone? The commander of the band. Who's the commander of the band? Well, he was the commander of the West Point band that I met when I was over visiting my sons in West Point. And he says, imagine that. We're looking for a reserve band to come over when we're on our 2-block lead to take all of our missions. Oh, I said, okay, well, I can't, you got to request this through ForceCom. So sure enough, he requests this through ForceCom, and General Steiner gets a hold and he says, Chief, how did you do that? I said, Warrant Officers has a way of doing things. Okay? Well, they sent me to Germany. I hand-receipted all their electronics, their buses, all their big instruments, and all we had to do was carry our personal instruments. We spent 2 weeks in Germany, had a great time, and accomplished the missions that an active duty band would accomplish. So I'm getting to a point where in my career, I'm a CW4 now, so my career counselor says, because I've been having to fly down to Fort Gordon, Georgia for the past 10 years to do my drills. Leave it on a Friday night, drill Saturday, Sunday, come back Sunday night, get back to work. You know how that goes. And it's kind of getting pretty tough. And so my career officer said, well, you're CW4 now, you can go any place you want. So I found an Army detachment which drilled at the Naval Drill Center at there with Jip Pack and Yukon Jack. So I was assigned to the Army detachment that was working under Yukon Jack and the skiff there. I did that for 2 years. Did that for 2 years, and then decided, well, I said, I'm going to retire at age 60. That was in 2011. And I said, well, if there's a CW5 slot open, they wanted me to stay for 2 more years. I said, well, if there's CW5 slot, I'll stay for 2 more years. There wasn't, so I retired. So that is basically my military career. And people ask me, would you do it again? Yes, I would do it again. It was a great experience. I met a lot of great people. And being a warrant officer allowed me to not only work with and mentor the non-commissioned officers, but also work with the officers, be a spokesman for them, which you all are. Here's another story for you. My sons. I got back from Fort Rutger. While I was down there, I got 2 big silver dollars for them. They were in junior high at the time. And I told them what we do in the military about the first salute, give them a silver dollar. I just gave them these big silver dollars. I forgot about it. They were in junior high. Okay, so my wife and ours are sitting up in Mikey Stadium there for the graduation at West Point. The hats go up. Wow. I'm in uniform. By the way, if you go to West Point in uniform, make sure your arm is in shape. Okay? You're constantly saluting people. And so my wife and I, we hustled down to the field. Our 2 sons are sitting there, big grins on their face. They just graduated from West Point. I go walking up to them and I salute them. You know what they did? They pulled out of their pockets the same silver dollars I gave to them when they were junior high and gave back to me. And so this is a special thing between us. And we've exchanged silver dollars now with their promotions too. They have to give them back to me now. So Rob's going to come up from Fort Hood, Texas, and he just got promoted, and he'll give the silver dollar. And I said, well, when you get to be a full colonel, I'll give it back to you. And Travis, of course, they're twins, and Travis is active component, and he hasn't got promoted yet. So when they get together, of course, they both are wrestlers, so you know what's going to happen in the backyard. But he'll be promoted. He's on the list. He'll be promoted this fall. Our daughter, Crystal, I got a story about her too. I'm over in Kuwait. My wife says, okay, you missed 2 years of your daughter's senior year in high school. She was supposed to be in my classes too. Is there any way you can get a leave, come back for her graduation? I said, I don't know. We pretty much accomplished our mission. My job is to identify the radars associated with the weapon systems, and we'd call the Air Force up and we'd take them out. Okay? And they got smart, they put them on trucks and so forth, but they were afraid to even turn them on after a while. And I said, well, I don't know. I don't think I can get back for graduation. She got a hold, my wife got a hold of the commanding general of INSCOM, his email address. She sends him an email. I'm not kidding. He must have been sitting right at his terminal, which probably most generals are doing, right? Okay. So he must have been sitting right at his terminal. He emails her back. He says, well,